Ghost of Yotei has just released and honestly it looks awesome. However, if you are like I was a few weeks ago and have never played its predecessor Ghost of Tsushima, you may be left wondering whether that may be a good place to start. I have just finished Tsushima to get ready for Yotei, so let me tell you whether you should be playing this game too in 2025. What's up? How's it going, people? Welcome to Casual Gamer Reviews. If you want to support the channel, please consider leaving a like and subscribe, or if you don't like it, then leave a thumbs down and let me know how I can be better for you. As a caveat, I played the director's cut version, and this review will only be the base game and not any of its story expansions or Legends mode. Ghost of Tsushima took me 43 hours to complete and then a further 4 hours to get the platinum, reviewed on PS5. At its core, Tsushima is an open world RPG set in 1274 during the first Mongol invasion of Japan. You play as Samurai Jin Sakai, and this seeps into all of the gameplay mechanics Suckerpunch have weaved into this title. The combat is extremely unique and not anything I can pull any comparisons for. As a foundation, you have a light and a heavy attack, a parry and a dodge, but really it's the stances and standoffs that separate Tsushima from the crowd. There are 5 stances in this game, the 5th one being a special ability that is story related, but it is the other 4 that you'll be using mostly. Each stance is strong against a particular enemy weapon type. One is effective against sword users, one against shield users, another against spear users, and the last is useful against brute enemies. These aren't all available to you immediately, and you will actually need to kill or observe Mongol leaders to obtain them. That being said, I had all 4 unlocked in Act 1 of the game, so I wouldn't worry about it too much. Whilst you can attack enemies with any stance, if it is not the stance that is effective against them, you will have a harder time trying to break through their defenses. Early in the game this was fine, as I would just dispatch off the sword enemies before switching stances and take out the shield enemies. As you progress the game, however, I found this to be a mixture of tedious and unmanageable. As you get into Act 2 and later, every single enemy group without exception will have all the weapon types attacking you at the same time. This just means you constantly have to switch between stances, which are tied to R2 in the quick slot, in order to have an effective combat encounter. This breaks the combat up in a way that is enjoyable on smaller encounters, but not for the many larger encounters in the later stages of the game. I ended up relying on perfect parries and dodges to defeat the enemies rather than switching to an effective stance, as it just felt more fluid that way. On paper, the stances are certainly one of a kind and a fun idea to switch up classic third-person combat, but that breaks down when you have the open world side effect of large enemy encounters. Having said that, the other unique combat mechanic, standoffs, I enjoyed far more. Standoffs lean into the samurai aspect of the game and the central theme of honor. Whenever you approach an enemy group, you get a prompt to do a standoff, which will lead you to a one-on-one whoever blinks first type scenario. Think a pistol duel in the Wild West, but with swords. You hold down the attack button and release it just before the enemy attacks to watch you slice effortlessly through them in stylish slow motion. You can spend skill points and even find gear to level up this ability, where you can cycle in more and more enemies to your standoff. By the end of the game, I had it where I could slice through 5 enemies within one standoff, which made all encounters not only more manageable, but far more enjoyable. While the standoffs may seem too easy on paper, let me explain why in reality that is not actually the case. After you get out of the early game, enemies will start to feint hits in the standoffs, and one enemy type in particular I really struggle to read. If you release your attack button too early, you will take critical damage and have enemies swarm on you at the same time, which is a recipe for disaster. I love the mixture of concentration to strike first and on time, and the satisfaction of watching the blood spew out in slow motion as you succeed. It made me feel like a true samurai warrior. The other side of combat in Tsushima is the stealth assassin gameplay. This has a lot of implications in terms of the story, which I'll touch on later, but for how it feels, it's hard not to draw comparisons to Assassin's Creed. You are called the Ghost for a reason, and it's mostly down to this stealth side of the game. The parkour is a lot lighter than in Assassin's Creed, but you can scale buildings and jump between wooden beams or branches and so on. You can then assassinate enemies, and the prompt even says assassinate from the shadows. You can sneak up on the ground or even jump from the rooftops to assassinate, so once again it's hard not to think of Ubisoft's franchise. This comes with all the usual stealth tropes, like being able to throw items to distract or blind, as well as being able to upgrade in order to unlock chain assassinations. By the end of the game, I had the ability to chain 3 assassinations if there were enough enemies close together. One cool thing that I should mention is that the assassinations seem to break fall damage, so you could just launch yourself from the top of anything to rain death from the highest of heights. Jin has his own detective vision, which allows you to see the outlines of enemies to plot your path ahead whilst in stealth mode, which can also be upgraded to have greater range. While this stealth gameplay felt good, it was pretty basic and it wasn't my preferred way to play, as I just wanted to be a fully badass samurai. Jin has access to his ghost weapons, which are tools that help in both sides of the combat. There is the kunai, sticky bomb, and black powder bomb, which are straight damaging throwable weapons. Then there is the wind chime to distract and the smoke bomb to disguise for the stealth side. In addition to the ghost weapons, Jin has other ranged options. There is a short bow and a long bow, which each have their own variety of arrows like exploding arrows or flaming arrows, and then much later in the game a pipe to use blow darts. The darts come in two forms, one poison and one hallucination. The poison is an instant kill and the hallucination causes an enemy to turn aggressive against their comrades. This makes both darts most effective when used in stealth. As I said at the top, Ghost of Tsushima is an open world RPG. On the RPG side, you are governed by technique points and resources. Technique points are gained from completing objectives, activities and missions which are tied to a reputation system. Each level of reputation has a number of notches on its level bar, and each of those notches represents a technique point. Technique points can be spent to level up Jin himself. This will include all of his various abilities like assassinations and standoffs like I mentioned earlier, but also stances and ghost weapons. To further bolster your samurai prowess are the charms, in which I found countless amounts of. These came in either minor or major form and can provide all sorts of buffs like increased health, damage, bow attacks, stealth, and anything you can think of really. In all honesty, the quantity of these were a little overwhelming, and like in any RPG, if the gear gets too much then I just won't look at it for hours, and that happened here with the charms. I appreciate Suckerpunch wanting to provide variety, but I would only open my charm menu every 5 to 10 hours to see if I had got any worthwhile, meaning I only switched my charms 2 or 3 times in the whole game. This might just be a me thing, but if your eyes glaze over at the sight of an endlessly scrolling gear screen, then you might want to bear this in mind. The other upgrade tree is through resources. Resources are what you use for leveling up your gear. Resources are just loose in the world, therefore the more you explore, the more you will find. There are multiple resources to get, like supplies, iron, steel, leather, and so on. You need to make sure you keep an eye out whenever you explore, as some are rarer than others. When found, these can be used to upgrade your sword, assassination blade, bows, and armor. I never found myself lacking in resources, but I am a checklist type of gamer, which means I go to every outpost and every side mission, so if you don't play this way, you may struggle more than me. It did seem orientated towards someone like me, as when I made the final upgrade for my katana, it did wipe out my resources entirely. I think that makes sense though for the final possible upgrade. Tsushima is slightly different from other RPGs in that you only have one of each weapon. You don't find other bows or katanas. Given everything else going on in this game, I did really appreciate the simplicity this choice brought to the gameplay and specifically the upgrade systems. In terms of the open world, it is very much a map game. You are loosely guided to your main quest, but the map will fill itself with indicators for points of interest and side quests very quickly. In Tsushima, the wind is your compass in disguise. By stroking up on the DualSense touchpad, the wind will blow in the direction of your objective. At times, it does feel a little too bloated, especially when it comes to some of the activities and the side quests. The side content itself is split into side quests and activities. Completing the activities contribute towards benefits for Jin, and the side quests can either unlock new abilities, new gear, or just provide a little bit of world building. Activities come in many shapes and sizes. You could be resting in a hot spring for a permanent health boost, chopping bamboo to increase your resolve, which is used for healing, chasing a fox to an altar to increase your charm slots, platforming to a shrine to unlock unique charms, igniting a lighthouse to increase your reputation, finding a pillar of honor to get a new sword skin, writing a haiku poem to unlock a new headband, or cleaning up Mongol camps for various rewards. I personally thought this was too much padding for this game with such a refined story, but I reckon they felt like they had to fill the world. I think this game could therefore have benefited from a smaller world. Other than the platforming for the shrines, which I found really fun and fresh each time, especially when you unlock the grappling hook, and the cosmetic unlocks at the pillars and haiku spots, each of these other activities just felt like a drag after you had done the first few. There's 49 foxes to chase, by the way. The side quests had a bit more to them, but honestly the quality of these varied greatly. They fell into two main categories, Tales of Tsushima and Mythic Tales. Tales of Tsushima are the more numerous ones, and these are split further into friend stories and general man of the people side quests. The friend stories explore struggles that your allies are experiencing alongside the main story, and these were by far the better Tales of Tsushima quests. There are 6 of these stories to experience, and some are as short as 3 quests long, while others are as long as 9 quests long. A couple of these were compelling stories. I especially recommend completing Norio the Warrior Monks one, but others felt a little half-baked and generic. The other Tales of Tsushima quests are often picked up through word of mouth by chatting to random NPCs, and for the most part these involve clearing out a Mongol camp to save some hostages or investigate a crime scene. I thought the investigating in this game was cool to start, but it quickly falls into the exact same routine every time. Analyze a few points of interest at the scene, identify the footprints, follow the footprints, without fail every single time. I understand you are a samurai and not Sherlock Holmes, but if you're going to include it in the game, then please give it some variation. My biggest gripe with these quests is that every single time it looked like there may be something more mysterious at play, like ghosts, spirits, or undead warriors, it would just turn out to be bandits. If you are going to have quests like that, don't ground it into reality every time, otherwise it's just a disappointing conclusion. These types of Tales of Tsushima quests give minor rewards like small charms or some resources, as well as notoriety, so often don't feel lucrative. In contrast to this is the Mythic Tales. Each Mythic Tale rewards you with some kind of legendary gear or an ultimate move, so everyone is worth your time. I won't go too deep into them here as I think that would be breaching the spoiler boundary, but they were all enjoyable and were shrouded in some kind of mystery, often with a fantastic climax. There is one where you have to complete 6 one-on-one duels across the map, and the scenery was always amazing. It really focuses on that samurai cinematic experience and felt awesome. It wasn't just these dueling arenas though. Tsushima often has moments that make you gasp with its visuals. The fidelity is pristine and the environmental design is superb. The Japanese setting of course aids to this with its beautiful cherry blossoms, acres of white flowers, rice fields, bamboo forests and sparkling waterfalls. The global illumination is also fantastic with a day and night cycle that causes the most eye-catching sunrises and sunsets that you will often find yourself stopping to take in the views. With a game this gorgeous, it would be criminal to not have a photo mode, and luckily it does. One of the best I've seen in fact. You have free reign of the camera position, can add filters and stamps, you can even have live weather effects. You can change the time of day and the weather and further customization in the focal length and field of view. I'm sure many shutterbugs could spend hours in this photo mode. As I've said many times in this review, Suckerpunch have gone through extensive lengths to make this game feel like the classic samurai movies. You often see this displayed in cutscenes, in duels, and in standoffs. The screen will transition to a letterbox aspect ratio and you will get camera switches between people's faces and their weapons as you slowly draw on each other. It's slick, it's stylish, and it works really well. Further to this, there is the Kurosawa mode, which you can switch on from the menu. This is a black and white mode in a film grain filter and slightly muted audio, which is inspired of course by director Akira Kurosawa and his movies. I think the great visuals of this game does filter down into the cosmetics too. Jin has several armor sets, headbands, hats and masks to choose from. Every armor set has dyes you can buy or unlock to explore new colorways, and this expands to some of the headbands too. I think the masks are the most iconic and there were so many great designs to choose from here. Even though there is only one of each type of weapon, you can find and buy a very high volume of colorways for these too. Most of the katana kits are found at Pillars of Honor, but some can also be unlocked through side quests or bought at merchants. There were loads to choose from. I seriously felt spoilt for choice. Lastly, for the visuals is the performance. I was playing on a base PS5 and it ran seamlessly. So well in fact that I was 30 hours in when I realized I was in fidelity mode instead of performance mode, and I always play in performance mode. It is a 5-year-old game and also a first party title, so I would expect no less, but you can never assume these days. The soundtrack in Ghost of Tsushima is composed by Ilan Ashkeri, who is most notable for composing the music for the film Layer Cake. Ilan did a lot of research into 13th century Japan and creates this western spin on classical music from Japan in that era. One of the tracks even features the biwa, which is an instrument said to have been used by samurai in the past. The authenticity of it is on full display and I felt immersed throughout my experience, whether I was in a story beat or just out exploring. Jin has his own in-game flute, which you can choose to play when you just want to take a second to rest and capture the moment. There are 4 tracks to learn and each have the side effect of changing the weather. All 4 of these were gorgeous melodies, and sometimes I would just place myself next to a waterfall or within some autumn leaves and play a song. It was incredibly peaceful and calming. I wouldn't be doing the audio its full justice without talking about the DualSense. Ghost of Tsushima incorporates a lot of its sound to be projected through the mini speaker on the controller, and I was amazed by how awesome it sounds. You could have something as simple as the wind blowing or your horse galloping through the world, but then it comes alive in battle moments or when writing a haiku. During battle, the sword clangs will project through the DualSense and the sound varies on what it's hitting. It could be a heavy clang if you whack against the clunky sword of a brute, or the scraping of steel if you're dueling off against another katana wielder. Sometimes it's the clash of hitting someone's shield, or the spill of blood when you break the guard and slice through an enemy for the kill. When writing a haiku, the serene environment is complemented by some peaceful chants and melodies that whisper through the DualSense speaker and make it an even more beautiful moment. It's each of these little things that provide a nice touch to the overall immersion of the game. The voice actors are not ones I am familiar with, but I thought they were pretty good. I played this game in English, but I know that there is the Japanese localized version too, which is a different cast. I imagine some people would prefer playing in Japanese to enhance the setting. Ghost of Tsushima is set in 13th century Japan during the first Mongol invasion. More specifically, it is set on the Japanese island of Tsushima. We play as samurai Jin Sakai and his revenge quests against the Mongols who are invading their home. The story intertwines 2 important and conflicting notions between honor and what is right. I thought the story itself was an interesting, well-told narrative, but it was this conflict between notions that I found the best part. Jin is not a very relatable character. He is quite a serious and stoic samurai. Even when going through all this internal conflict, it is the cast around him that you experience the true levity of it. The supporting characters are great, especially the fierce widow Lady Masako or the expressive thief Yuna and her lovely brother Taka. The villain, the Mongol leader Khotun Khan, is also fantastic. His evil seeps through all interactions you have with him. His part in the story is played excellently. If you want a gritty, well-written tale of samurai honor and revenge to protect your people with a Japanese setting, you will feel more than satisfied here. Ghost of Tsushima is an open-world RPG where the setting really takes center stage. Suckerpunch has honed in on 13th century Japan and its samurais. There are true glimpses of mastery in this title, especially with its visuals and the samurai-orientated combat, most notably the standoffs and duels. The audio is beautifully interconnected with the stunning environments, and I loved the integration with the DualSense for that extra bit of immersion. It does, however, fall down to the most common problem with open-world RPGs, and that is bloat. A mix of unfulfilling side quests and a little too many monotonous activities takes away from the experience slightly. This, combined with the clunky stance system in combat, keeps the game from being a masterpiece. Overall though, I can't deny that this is still a great experience. Ghost of Tsushima gets a casual gamer score of 8 out of 10. Check the channel for my most recent reviews of Indiana Jones The Order of Giants or Shinobi Art of Vengeance. October is an absolutely stacked month for game releases, including this game's successor Ghost of Yotei. Please check out my video on October's best games if you want to see more. If you want to support the channel, please consider leaving a like and subscribe, or leave a thumbs down and I will try to be better next time. Let me know in the comments below if you want to play Tsushima before Yotei, and for everything else, casual gamer, keep it here. Peace and love.